Welcome back. We haven't done this in a while, but we have to do this because we have to know it. Why did the Rambam go on a tangent here? Okay. First, he talks about ikuv. Last perek, the Rambam was talking about that there's a special korban of the bread. Okay, shtei lechem. When was that brought? Oh, it's brought on Shavuos. That happened this year. The guys tried to bring the heave bread, which is like lechem aponim, but it's just special bread brought as the bikurim sacrifice on Shavuos. Now, there's a musaf of Shavuos. Musaf is a load of burnt offerings and a sin offering because it's a holiday. 2 bulls, 1 ram, 7 lambs, and a he-goat as a sin offering. And then, along with the shtei lechem, there's another bunch of korbanos that almost looks like the musaf. It's basically double the musaf. So the question is, wait a minute, we don't have enough animals to go around in the Beis HaMikdash, or we don't have enough bread. If you can't have all of it, should you have some of it? What do you have and what do you not have? So that's the din of ikuv. Ikuv means, if I don't have this, can I still have that? So the Mishneh Menachos actually is talking about the shtei lechem doesn't matter. If you don't have the sheep, so you don't have the bread. But if you don't have the bread, what do you do? So this was brought up in the last parak. And by the way, that's where the Mishnah talks about what do you do if you have tzitzis and you don't only have white tzitzis as opposed to tcheles, or you only have tcheles as opposed to white. Do you go ahead with the mitzvah? And then what's the answer? Yeah. So if all you have is tcheles, oh, unfortunate, poor guy. But imagine all you have tcheles, so make all your strings blue. But if all you have white, so make them all white. Don't say, well, there's no tcheles.
The entire thing could be blue.
What?
The entire thing could be blue.
If you don't have white strings to put among the tcheles, then yes. Okay? And that's what the Mishnah is. The tcheles is not makid, it's a lovin. Lovin ain't no makid, it's tcheles. So here, the Rambam got into this halacha of, what do you call it? What do you do if you don't have the sheep? It says, shtei lechem makvis akvasim. If you don't have the bread, then you can't bring these 2 special lambs as a sacrifice. But if you don't have the lambs, doesn't mean you don't bring the bread. So do the bread without the lambs. And then he got into the other halachas, derech agov, because there's not much in the chapter. It's talking about the musaf of Shavuos, and then he talks about the shtei lechem of Shavuos. He brings the general rules of ikuv in the temple. If you don't have this, what do you do? So he says the Temidin, it's not makiv, it's UMusafin. Let's say you have the bull and the ram for the musaf of Rosh Chodesh, but you don't have a single lamb for the Tamid. So give the bull and the ram of the musaf, right?
Okay.
Usually, by the way, say what about the bulls, the ram, the sheep of the musaf and the sheep of the Tamid? There are 7 sheep of the musaf, 2 sheep of the Tamid. So a little bit difficult there, So it says Haresh Lomatzu Ela Shisha Kvasim Makrivim Shisha. All they have is 6 lambs. Now, I'm just reading something from the 8th parak as an example. So the Rambam in the last parak was talking about ikuv. In Rosh Hashanah, you have an interesting situation going on. There's a musaf of Rosh Hashanah. What's a musaf of Rosh Hashanah? 1 bull, 1 ram, 7 lambs. Rosh Hashanah is Rosh Chodesh. What's the musaf of Rosh Chodesh? 2 bulls, 1 ram, 7 lambs. So basically, Rosh Hashanah means 3 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs, and 2 sin offerings. Just basically double musaf minus a bull. Right?
Okay.
So, wait a minute. What comes first? Let's say it's Shabbos also.
Okay. Shabbat comes first then.
Okay, so Shabbos, how do you know that?
Because we have a halacha that which is teri, which comes often, that goes first.
Okay, so yeah, what's the word? Tadir.
Tadir,
Okay, that's an Aramaic word, which because it means frequent, it gave rise to the modern Hebrew word teder, which means frequency, a tether. Okay? I thought I had the word tether like in English, because it's a direct translation, tether. So it says, what's a siddur? Shabbos tchila, achar kach musaf hachodesh, v'achar musaf yontif. So if Rosh Hashanah is on Shabbos, so first Shabbos musaf, then Rosh Chodesh, and then the Rosh Hashanah one. And because we got to this, the Rambam dedicates the rest of this parak talking about Kadima. There are a lot of cases in the temple where you have all sorts of sacrifices. What should take priority? So the general rule is, well, let's say you have a burnt offering. Right? Burnt offering is holier than a feast offering. So the Kohanim should take care of the burnt offering first, let's say. But the guy with the feast offering came in 5 minutes earlier, the Kohanim already started on this one. So generally speaking, when it comes to non-Sibur, the Kohanim deal with whatever's there, They don't tell a guy with a feast offering or a Bechor, please wait, maybe someone's showing up with an Ola, which is holier, right? They just take what they have. So that's general, whatever's available. But with the tzibur, you first have to do korbanos tzibur. Temidin and UMusafin go first, obviously. But even there's priorities. Okay, so the Rambam is talking about priorities here. So, for example, in the middle of the 8th halacha, he says shlamim kodmim la bechor. Feast offering comes before a bechor, right? One guy is a bechor, one guy is a regular shlamim, a toda, right? So the shlamim comes first. There's more mitzvahs to do with the shlamim, so it's technically holier. It takes precedence. Why? You have to apply more of the blood to the altar, right? Apply the blood to the corners, 2 corners, so it gets on 4 sides, and he has to put his hands, lean on the korban, and there's the waving. Okay, there's the pieces, sacrificial pieces are waved by the kohanim, right? And there's wine brought with that. With regards to the bechor, there isn't. Bechor is holy, kadosh mibetin, right? So there you go. A bechor kodem maser behema, and bechor normally, as all the halachas are like a meiser behema, that's the tithe of the animals. Person has to take all his behemoths that were born within a certain time period at a certain time of the year, put them all in the pen, and then let them have the pen one by one and mark the 10th one, right? So the bechor takes precedent over the meiser. Why? Even though they're mostly the same halachas, because bechor is holy from even before it was born, whereas this meiser only became holy because it was the 10th one to leave the pen, and because it's only eaten by kohanim. Bechor can be eaten by, because it's eaten by kohanim. The meiser is eaten by technically everybody. Okay. Unlike what that guy, that fake rabbi said, that, it's a meiser behema, teaches us that, we should love animals or something like that. It turns out it's not what he said. We celebrate eating the animals. There was I have a video about this. There's one of those celebrity rabbi types, the type of rabbi who will say, I'm Orthodox, and they'll officiate at your gay wedding for you. So, yeah. Now, that's not a joke. That's what he actually said, like Poe's Law, like we started with. So he has a classic nonsense where he's opened up the Mishneh in Rosh Hashanah, which says that there's 4 Rosh Hashanahs, right? 4 Rosh Hashanahs. There's for trees and for kings and for Shmitim, Yovelos, all the different Rosh Hashanahs. And the first of all is Rosh Hashanah for Meiser Behema. So that means that's the cutoff date. These animals are born then. And the Rambam says, by the way, this is Stam Mishnah, but it's not halacha, because in Bechoros we say that we'd only hold of 3 Rosh Hashanahs. The halacha says, the opinion we follow is, Meiser Behema cutoff date is Aleph Tishrei, just like, years and Shemitas and things. Aleph Elul is not the cutoff date. But either way, this guy ran with it and said, he called it Rosh Hashanah Liv Hemoth, for animals. And he tells people to get in touch with the animals. Animals are people too. He's an active vegan. Okay, he's very much Torah veganism, right? Telling people don't kill the animals, etc. Right? So when Rosh Chodesh Elul came around, he says, let's resurrect the old tradition of Rosh Hashanah Liv Behemot, as he said. Care for the animals and stuff like that. Because Rosh Chodesh Elul, it's a Mishneh tradition. Everybody applauded him. Good job. And Rabbi finally gets it. Except he's wrong. First of all, halacha is not that's Rosh Hashanah. It's Rosh Chodesh Elul. Rosh Chodesh Tishrei. And secondly, it's Rosh Hashanah for Meiser Behemos. It's not animals are people to hug your sheep and don't kill them holiday. It's not even a holiday. It's the cutoff date for when a person has to mark 1 out of every 10 animals for sacrifice and consumption, which is definitely not what he holds of. Okay? It's a decimation of his. What's a decimation literally? Decimation of flocks. Well, I wrote about it, but whatever. He's a celebrity. He has many followers, and he has his picture on Time magazine and things like that. And I'm just a guy in Kochav Yaakov, But he's really wrong. Enough people, he gets enough criticism, So, what's the decimation? Why did I say it's literally a decimation?
Yes.
Well, that means that was like, I think the Romans used to have this minhag in the army, like to punish the troops. They'd have to get around and kill every 10th soldier, like 10 soldiers in a group, and like pick the weakling to be killed or blamed for whatever, and they kill him. So that's how they decimate their ranks. Take out 1 out of every 10 guys. So that's what basically the decimation of your flock. You mark your flock. 1 out of every 10 animals is to be ritually slaughtered in the temple. That's what Meister is about. Okay. So it's not what he said, has nothing to do with he said, but it gets clicks and it gets likes and it gets people think that Judaism is a leftist religion for progressives, but it's it's not.
I love animals too. They're very tasty.
Yeah, I love animals. They're delicious. Okay, that's the line. Well, the animals are people too thing is very funny. Okay, let's go on. Chatas kodem is la'ashem shlam kodem l'chor. Meiser kodem la'ofoth. The Meiser takes precedence of bird sacrifices. That means two guys in the temple there show up, and he has a Meiser behema to sacrifice. The other guy says bird sacrifice. Now wait a minute, bird sacrifice is definitely not a Meiser is eaten. It's like kodesh. It's like kadshe kalim. Bird sacrifice is either a burnt offering or a chatas. And normally, burnt offering chatas are kadshe kachim. They take precedence over kadshe kalim. That's if it's a behema. Okay? But if it's ophos, doesn't matter if it's a burnt offering or a sin offering. By the way, when it says ophos, it means only two types of birds. Where are the two types of birds? Pop quiz.
Pigeon. Yonah.
Yeah. Doves and pigeons. You got it. Pigeon and doves and pigeons. Right? Not chickens. No, not in modern Hebrew. But in biblical Hebrew, they're different. B'nai Yonah means young doves or grown pigeons or tor. Okay?
So tor is a pigeon?
Yeah, pigeon. Standard pigeons. Now, those used to be the most common birds in Israel. Nowadays, I'm told that the myna bird is the most common. It's an Indian bird. People brought it from pet shops. Yeah. Yeah. Okay? There's also hoopos and crows and ravens like black predatory non-kosher birds around, the grackle birds, right? The ones that go grack.
Also lots of parrots because they got a...
Yeah, people, yeah. And my neighbor has exotic birds that got loose. Well,
they became feral.
Yeah.
Somebody had them in the Catamount and let them go.
Yeah. Yeah, so now it's like the myna is the most common, but it used to be different birds. Okay. So, remember my daughter said she heard a grackle bird outside the door go grack, grack in the morning. She asked my wife, Marta grack, grack hazeh. Who's outside saying grack, grack? It's a bird. Okay. Mipnei shehu zevach. So why does the Meiser take precedence over these birds, even though they're olos and chatas? The answer, because it's slaughtered. Zevach means animal sacrifice that's ritually slaughtered. Birds are not ritually slaughtered in the temple. How do we say that they process the birds? How do you kill a bird sacrifice? Malika. Okay? By the way, according to what we saw in the Rambam, doesn't necessarily have to be the thumbnail. It could maybe be the index finger. Okay? Very difficult. Are you practicing your Malika? There is a guy who actually, it's on YouTube. He's like, I'm going to show you how to do Malika. And it's like a 2-hour YouTube video when he doesn't do it. Like, just get to it. Just show us how you do it. But if you're not a Kohen, there's no business even practicing unless you have to teach the Kohanim. Why? Because you just kill the bird and make it non-kosher. It's a waste. But if you're a Kohen, at least you can practice. Okay? Kohanim have to do the Malika. So.
You're a Kohen? Very nice.
Yeah, don't mess. V'yeshbo kachi kachim damo ve'murav. Okay? And technically speaking, the Meiser does have kachi kachim because its blood and innards are offered on the temple, on the altar. V'ofoth kodbin lamenachos b'pnei shein minei damim. And birds take precedent over meal offerings because at least they have blood. How's a bird sacrifice made? If it's an olah, they do the malika, and there are different ways about whether separating the head or not, and then also separating along the spine. We saw that earlier. And then the blood is squeezed out on the altar, and then the body is just thrown onto the fire and burned. If it's a chatas, they squeeze out the blood, but then the Kohanim eat the rest of the bird. How much meat is there? Not a lot, but still. But at least it's type of blood. Menachos is just what? It's just flour, oil, and frankincense. Now, by the way, it's talking about menachos of whose menachos? Let's say here, whose menachos necessarily. As far as I know, this is people offer, like people bring in menachos, like a voluntary meal offering. Okay? By the way, if it's a voluntary meal offering, is it actually burned on the altar? And the answer is the kometz is, and if it's a meal offering from a kohen, the entire thing is. Kol minchat kohen, kalil tiyeh. If a regular Jew brings a mincha, so they process it into mostly edible forms of bread for the kohanim. If it's a kohen's actual mincha, it's the same substances, but entirely burnt. Not just a kometz, the entire thing. Okay? So that's the difference. Normally, there's no difference. If a kohen offers sacrifice voluntarily and the Yisrael does, they're treated on the same level. Okay. But Mincha of a Kohen's special. Okay. Hareisha lefanav chatas ha'of u'maiser. Let's say it's a chatas ha'of, like you just said. Hamaser kodem mipnei shehu zevach. You have a chart, good charts. Good thing you have the makbili chart there because it gets confusing. Okay? The meiser beats the chatas of the oaf because it's a zevach, we just said. Hayusham chatas ha'of u'maiser ve'olas behema. Let's say 3. Chatas ha'of, meiser, and olas behema. Hoil ve'ola kodemis l'meiser ve'chatas ha'of kodemis l'olas behema. Makriv chatas ha'of techila v'achar kach ola v'achar kach ha'maser. Okay? So first bring the chatas ha'of, and then the ola, then the burnt offering, and then the meiser. Okay. Do you see that there's a little of a paradox there? Do you see that chart? No. So read the next one. Haresha mine behema harbe mimine mimin korban echad. Kitzadu krivim. Aparim kodem la'elim shekein nisrabim nesachim. Ve'elim kodem la'kvasim shein nisrabim nesachim. Kvasim kodem la'asirim shekein nisrabim maimurim. Okay. Yeah, you see that chart there? That the Makbili is basically saying that there's a little bit of a contradiction here. Okay. That each one has one reason to be for the other. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the Rambam says that's the solution that they came up with, the one we just read. Hey, you would have said this, but that was a psak. Okay, I'll translate what I just read here. The bulls come first because they have more nisachim. Nisachim includes wine and meal offering, right? Minchas nisachim. If you're a bull, what if you have a bull? What are the nisachim you bring? There's 3. What does it say? Shlosha esronim lapar. Right? You have to bring 3 esronot of meal offering for each bull, right? That's quite a lot. That's 3 times the shir challah, right? And it says, what do you call it? Chatziyah hin yayin, and half a hin of wine. That's a lot. And half a hin of oil. If it's a ram, there's less. Ram has just 2 esronim and a third of a hin of each of wine and oil, as we saw before. Ve'elim kodmin lakvasim shein nisrabu b'nesachim, and a keves, or just a small goat, brings what? 1 isaron of flour and a revi'ita hin of both wine and oil. The ratio doesn't hold up, by the way, we saw before. If you're bringing a bull as a burnt offering in the temple, you have to also bring 3 esronim of flour, the solet, which is quite a lot. That's more than 3 liters of it. And you have to bring half a hin of wine and oil each. Hin is about 3.6 liters according to the minimum, and a revita hin is just about a liter. Okay, just less than a liter. So that's how much you bring. A revita hin, I know at least in Hebrew, that's what's brought with a lamb. Yeah. Okay. 1 bottle of what? Yeah. Yeah, 900 ml. But then again, that's according to the most lenient opinion. Others say it's a little bit more than a liter. So about a liter. Okay. Wine and oil each for a lamb, and an isaron of flour. If it's a bull, like I said, there's 3 esronim, and you have to bring only half a hin. So that's twice as much wine and oil. And if it's a ram, there's 2 esronim and a third of a hin, which comes out to about, 1.38 liters, something like that, whatever it comes out to. The Sanhedrin would actually have to decide these things. Supposedly in the temple, they had ways to measure all these things. Remember, we said they had measuring cups and bottles and things like that. They haven't dug up any of them. You know why?
They got taken by the Romans, no?
Because they were precious metal, and they were probably despoiled. Like, why would they leave them around? It's extremely valuable. Like we saw a few weeks ago, there's not anything of value. There's no real antiquities of value on the Temple Mount. Why? Because it got ransacked many times, and whatever rocks you find, rubble of the temple, of which there's many. Remember, the temple had huge walls, okay, made out of marble. So there are
the cylinders that you see there.
Those are columns made out of marble. So those are hard to despoil.
And
They're just there, yes. So the outer walls of the temple are still there. They're pieces. There's a milah. We saw it's not milah to touch. Those are to take those.